Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we dive into a time capsule and visit the intoxicating world of the Ottoman Empire. Picture yourself in a vibrant marketplace, spice-laden air swirling around you, voices of merchants rising in rhythm with the distant muezzin's call echoing from towering minarets. This empire spans 3 continents, its power sweeping across deserts, mountains, and seas, pulling in cultures like threads in an intricate tapestry. But don't start packing your bags just yet. You probably won't survive this journey. Not without grit, adaptability, and a strong stomach for both politics and street food. From power struggles and plagues to strict laws and luxury you can't touch, life in Ottoman lands was breathtaking and brutal. If that mix excites you, like this video, subscribe and drop your city and current time in the comments below. Dim the lights, let the fan hum like wind through a silk pavilion. Let's begin. The city is alive with a complexity that might initially seem overwhelming. Horses clop over ancient cobblestones, and the colourful textiles flapping in the wind form a patchwork canopy over the streets. The soft-eyed camels, laden with goods from faraway lands, stare wearily at you, creatures as much a part of the landscape as the people themselves. You realise the scene isn't just bustling, it's a crossroads of civilizations where east meets west, and each exchange poses potential perils and possibilities. Turning a corner, you might bristle at the swift sensory barrage from innumerable spices stacked high on vendor stalls, their piquant scents biting in the dry air. Perhaps you'd love some of those exotic peppers grinding against your tongue, but, caution, your unimpaired modern palate might not stand a chance against these old-world flames. In this city, the Ottomans' architectural prowess is unavoidable. You're drawn to the intricate tiles and the fine artistry of a mosque's sweeping domes. Historians still argue whether these designs were meant to dazzle or instill a sense of humility among the people, a reminder of their place in the divine structure. And speaking of history, this certainly isn't the curated museum tour you might imagine. Even as you revel in the splendor, you notice the grime clinging to the ornate details, the faint but persistent grumbling of the masses who call the underbelly of this city home. You quickly learn that knowledge and culture flourish here not only through formal education, but through the ceaseless chatter of the streets, the passing of stories and gossip in coffeehouses, where brilliance and garrulousness swirl together in a single heady brew. 1 minute, poignant lines from a newly crafted ghazal echo in your ears. The next, heated debates over trade policies between empires rage. Yet for all its intellectual riches, this city keeps its trials well hidden beneath the surface splendor. The Ottomans' famed religious tolerance is complex, carrying with it layers of negotiation, concession, and sometimes tense coexistence. It's a far cry from the simpler acceptance we might fantasize about, a diplomatic dance as precarious as the footing on those ancient cobblestones. You hear tales of darkness whispered in between the day's dealings. The faint echoes of plague warnings serve as a chilling reminder that health and prosperity hang by a thread, constantly at risk of snapping. Of course, stepping into an Ottoman day isn't all doom and gloom. There is humour in the mundanity too. Imagine struggling in a thick, showy caftan that drapes more like a mobile upholstery than a practical outfit. It's a bit like trying to do a Zumba class in chain mail. Then there's the realization that hot coffee, already the rage in social gatherings, demands a level of patience and technique you might not have mastered thanks to modern-day kettles. But let's be honest, each step you take in this world reveals a complexity that's both exhilarating and exhausting. Your modern conveniences, the freedom of the individualistic approach, the health systems you take for granted, all absent in this time and place. Still keen to set foot on this historical stretch of land where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, and none of it feels entirely stable? This grand introduction to the Ottoman Empire is just scratching the surface, opening up the doors to a narrative you're about to plunge deeper into. Yet, as you stand there, ensnared by the endless currents of people and events, it's clear just how little you, as a modern interloper, would be equipped to handle the wonders and horrors that lay within this empire's domain. Get ready for a challenging, strange journey through the lives, battles, and passions woven into the fabric of a world where living is truly an art in itself. From the bustling streets, your senses are now drawn towards the heart of power in the Ottoman Empire, the Sultan's court. Imagine yourself standing in the opulent halls of the Topkapi Palace, where the shimmering gold and rich fabrics create a setting that feels both enchanting and intimidating. You're here not as a tourist, mind you, but as a potential player in the intricate game of politics and power. The Sultan, the supreme ruler and the Sultan of Sultans, commands an unshakable presence. His authority stretches from the furthest reaches of Anatolia to the gates of Vienna. But with great power comes a vast network of court intrigues that would make Game of Thrones look like a playground spat. It's a stressful environment where allegiances shift as quickly as the tides, and keeping your head literally depends on whom you align yourself with. While you're maneuvering through these gilded corridors, you're faced with an orchestrated symphony of etiquette. One misstep, one ill-timed remark, and you could quickly find yourself without a head, or at least without favour. And here's the kicker. Historians still argue about the true workings of loyalties in this court. Was it purely fear that held alliances, or was there a genuine respect for the Sultan's vision? A man who might love poetry as much as political manoeuvring. As a newcomer unversed in such intricacies, you would have easily been labelled a nob page, a flattering term to mean compliant but mildly dim-witted. This world's politeness and hierarchy would leave you spinning as the courtiers assessed your every move, calculating your usefulness like a human abacus. Despite these challenges, the Sultan's court is a sight to behold. The air is filled with the subtle tension of diplomatic negotiations, the exchange of formal greetings decorated with too many words and too few genuine smiles. Nonetheless, the ceremonial grandeur conceals an undercurrent far more deadly, and professional secrets are kept under tighter security than the imperial treasury. In this fast-paced scramble for power, the Sultan's whim can make or break futures. But to lighten the mood, let's glance at the fashion parade masking as practicality, shall we? Their daily attire is an extravagant affair, replete with deeply layered kaftans and turbans that demand impeccable balance. You might think this is to impress, but one quirkiness scholars still jest about involves hiding in plain sight. A garish turban here, a bright sash there. Rather like a uniform, but one that says, "I am managing actual kingdoms, darling." In addition to its complex human component, the court is also an epicenter for art and culture. The Sultan is often portrayed as a benevolent patron to musicians, poets, and scholars alike. Your ears ring with the lilting strains of a ney flute, drifting through the halls as a court poet presents his latest work, verses rich in metaphor and layered meanings. You could try to contribute to this highbrow banter, but considering the heavy scrutiny on wit and diction, that may not end well. So much depends on maintaining appearances, yet beneath the polished veneer lies a much darker world. Rivalries brew beneath each courteous bow, alliances are forged only to be broken when expedient, and if one isn't careful, ambition could lead to one's undoing. If the stakes weren't so high, the scene might be almost comedic in its drama, like a perpetual regency ball with daggers up the sleeve. From your modern perspective, it might be tempting to think you'd play the game with cunning finesse, but consider the challenges. Accustomed to tweeting your thoughts willy-nilly, you suddenly realize discretion is paramount. A single misworded comment could be overheard by precisely the wrong person, usually the head of security, who's already double-checking his portfolio of court secrets. In a court where the lines between friend and foe blur, where trust is scarce and a wary eye is your best friend, it's no wonder that architectural splendor houses more whispers than laughter, more tension than celebration. The power dynamics are fascinating but might just wear you out before you even find your footing. As the day draws on, the murmur of political machinations recedes to only echoes in your mind, leaving you to wonder how anyone ever relaxed enough to sleep at night in this palace remains an enigma. But tonight, as a mere historical voyeur, you can, thankfully, escape the toils of the Ottoman power plays and return to your world, a place where Game of Thrones betrays its fictional nature with every episode. Leaving the intricate dance of the Sultan's court behind, you find yourself amidst the vibrant chaos of an Ottoman bazaar, an extraordinary tapestry of life and commerce. The air is thick with cacophony, vendors calling out their wares in a harmonious symphony of pitches, each trying to outdo the neighbouring stall. It's more than just a market. It's the beating heart of the city where every sense is engaged and tested. As you weave through the throngs of people, you're enveloped by a sea of intricately patterned fabrics, the sunlight catching every hue and creating a dazzling display of colour. Each stall boasts an array of goods, from silk textiles to vibrant ceramics and work-of-art jewelry pieces designed to charm and captivate any passerby. Yet, amidst the vibrancy lies a labyrinth of opportunities and pitfalls, where your modern-day naivety is both an asset and a vulnerability. Your ears are greeted with the melodic cadences of various languages mingling together, Arabic, Turkish, Greek, and Armenian among them. The bazaar reflects the Ottoman Empire's vast and diverse jurisdiction, bringing together traders from various corners of its dominion and beyond. You're caught in an intricate weave of cultures, but this melting pot isn't just a bubble of commerce, it's also a place of cultural exchange, where ideas and traditions pass invisibly from one servant of the bazaar to the next. Historians still debate whether the bazaar was primarily an economic powerhouse or a cultural nexus of the empire. Maybe it's a blend of both, successfully fostering economic growth while also becoming the Starbucks of its era, where trends were set and stories swapped. You might even stumble upon an impromptu debating session on the latest political tensions over a cup of dark, syrupy coffee. As you step further into its depths, you realize that every transaction is a dance of wit and negotiation, far removed from the impersonal interactions of today's cash registers. Here, haggling isn't just common, it's expected, a test of skill and endurance, where both buyer and seller walk away respecting the outcome if the dance has been artfully executed. The fruit vendor down the lane doesn't just sell you apples, he passionately describes their journey from Anatolia, infusing the produce with a narrative meant to charm the few extra coins from your purse. The scents are equally captivating, though occasionally overpowering. It's like a giant spice cabinet exploded into Technicolor. Sigara bolek sizzles nearby, the flaky pastry filled with cheese or minced meat, while a neighbouring vendor carefully measures saffron, its deep aroma teasing at exotic dishes far beyond your culinary expertise. But be warned, your unconditioned stomach might rebel against some of these intense flavours, a reminder of the grumble of adaptation to a time before food safety regulations. You might think indulging in these authentic flavours is safe, but expect the occasional unexpected culinary quirk. Take, for instance, the Ottoman love for pickled items, a preference shared by your pickle-loving aunt but taken to new, rather sour, heights. In this world, no vegetable is secure from the brine. With goods from as dramatic as figs in garish sugar syrup to dates stuffed with almonds, navigating Ottoman cuisine is like walking through a sweet and occasionally bizarre dream sequence. The complex tapestry of trade and barter might lead one to turn nostalgic, imagining a seamless coexistence where the ebb and flow of goods circulate like a well-oiled machine. But in truth, conflicts lurked beneath the surface. There were territorial disputes and grievances aplenty, with intermittent gale-force gusts of competition blowing. But the stallholders hold their ground with stubborn resilience, leaning into the time-honoured tradition that underpins their livelihood. And lest you underestimate these vendors, their shrewdness would likely leave you humbled by round two if you presumed them easy pickings in a sales contest. A career to navigate through the bazaar was akin to wielding a small empire of your own, skillfully balancing friendliness and fierce rivalry. Toward the bazaar's end, you're struck by the intricate dance of shadow and light, where the bustling market quiets at sundown, leaving behind an echo of humanity's timeless pursuits: trade, art, interaction, and sustenance. The Ottoman bazaar was more than a marketplace. It was a microcosm of everyday life wrapped in colour and sound. But surviving as an integral part of this breathing economy, that requires more than curiosity and an eye for souvenirs. It demands resilience, adaptability, and, above all, a stomach and heart as big as the bazaar itself. And so, as the last vendor startles a sleeping cat off his wares and begins to pack up shop, you step out of this whirlwind of colour and scent, pondering the intricate human network that sustained it for centuries, a vibrant heart in an empire whose legacy unfolds with every bargain struck. As you leave the vibrant bazaar behind, your attention shifts to the sophisticated social dance of the Ottoman court. This is a realm where etiquette might seem as delicate as the finely woven silks you just left behind, yet as formidable as the empire itself. Here, social survival is a game played by intricate rules where everyone learns to perform their role with precision, or else. Imagine yourself at a grand banquet, the low hum of conversation blending with the delicate tinkling of fountains. You're seated among dignitaries, foreign envoys, and high-ranking officials, each with their own agendas hidden beneath polished exteriors. The Ottomans excel in ceremonial proceedings. Every gesture and phrase a measured step in a meticulously choreographed ballet of power and influence. Seating arrangements alone speak volumes. Your position at the table a clear signal of your rank and favour within the court. As you navigate this sophisticated minefield, you quickly understand that maintaining status requires finesse, not blunt force. Small talk masks significant undercurrents, and every exchange is a potential opportunity or pitfall. Then, an unexpected fluke occurs. A footman carries past a tray overflowing with rose-petal syrup-infused delights, and you pause, momentarily distracted by the heady aroma. Ah, distraction. The simplest disguise for a graceless misstep in a world where even a downward gaze speaks volumes. Understanding the etiquette here demands more than just reading a dusty old rulebook. Historians still argue whether these codes were more about hierarchies or shared cultural identity, both important, but extending an exclusive kind of welcome to whoever can navigate them. One thing is certain. You find yourself occasionally longing for the directness of your local coffee joint. In contrast, these diplomatically complex conversations require the kind of nuance usually reserved for Shakespearean dialogue. And if you're operating under the assumption that a witty quip can endear you to these esteemed folks, bear in mind that humour too is steeped in its traditions. To add an interesting quirk, court jesters or deli, though entertaining with their sharp wit and jibes, held a critical place within courtly circles, often subtly commenting on politics, those brave wordsmiths walking a tightrope between humour and danger. But court life isn't all stuffy posturing. Each visitor brings new flavours, fashions, and tales that ripple through the fabric of court culture, creating a rich tapestry of shared experience. When an entourage from Venice introduces a new style of velvet doublets, it sparks a brief but fervent fashion frenzy, rivaled only by debates on the merits of Eastern versus Western embroidery. In this world where appearances are everything, there's one detail that might humorously surprise you. Personal grooming is paramount. Even today, you might relate to quibbling over a bad hair day, but here, grooming borders on an art form. Hair care rituals using fragrant oils and intricate beards demand attention. A misstep here could translate as poorly as mismatched socks during a presidential address. As a visitor from the future, you're privy to a world where frowning over a steaming cup of tea, filled strong diplomatic undertones, no misplaced hint of aggression here, not over a silver pot's worth of delicious liquid. Frankly, the subtleties might leave you wishing for a situation warranting a good old-fashioned eye roll. Yet amid the layers of pomp, there is strain. The pressure to maintain social propriety is relentless, and any hint of scandal can swiftly undo years of nurturing the perfect persona. A whispered rumour, exchanged behind a fluttering fan, has the power to alter fates. One slip can swiftly blot out all evidence of your climb up society's ladder. As the evening at court winds down, you marvel at the balance these courtiers maintain in their worlds of opulence coloured with jealousy, ambition, and the human need to fit in. You can almost taste the effort in the air, as tangible as the scent of rosewater lingering around dinner tables. It's clear now. The art of survival in the Ottoman court demands a deft hand navigating alliances, rivalries, and the critically important public perception demands time-honoured strategies. You might not envy them, but it's impossible not to admire those who manage to thrive amid the intrigue. As you retire from this social minefield, you muse on the exhaustion born of endless performative duties, and suddenly, the sanctuary of your untucked shirt and unapologetic laughter seems as comforting as your coziest chair back home. Under the flickering stars beyond the palace roof, the complexity of court life retreats to a distant memory, leaving you to meander at a more gentle pace into the embrace of a simpler night. Stepping away from the carefully choreographed elegance of the Ottoman court, your journey now takes you into the disciplined and formidable world of the Janissaries. These elite infantry units have long served as the Sultan's personal guard, feared for their exceptional skill and unwavering loyalty. You imagine stepping into their ranks, only to find yourself navigating a life of rigorous discipline and exacting duty. The Janissaries aren't your typical soldiers. These men, once Christian boys taken through the Devshirme system, were converted to Islam and trained from a young age. They quickly became the backbone of the Ottoman military might. Imagine waking up at the crack of dawn, the morning chill barely dissipating before you're thrust into a day filled with drills, formation practice, and weapon training. The wooden practice sword in your hand feels heavier, not just for its weight, but because it comes with the full realization of what's expected of you. The regimented lifestyle is relentless. Even meals are precise affairs, eaten together with military precision. The Janissary Corps reflects a bizarre yet effective blend of monastic discipline and military prowess, with every action and every word calculated toward maintaining the cohesion of this brotherhood. However, it's not all stoic discipline and routine. There's a particular kind of camaraderie formed through shared challenges and rewards. At times, you can catch a hint of humor in this strict life, an impromptu contest among the men, challenging each other to feats of strength or dexterity, breaking briefly from their training regimens to nurture friendships that might last lifetimes. And while they might look somewhat Spartan, Janissaries are compensated well, enjoying considerable privileges that civilian residents could only dream of. Their influence extends beyond the battlefield, holding sway in court politics, a curious evolution from their humble origins. Historians still argue whether this power shift has been beneficial, turning the corps into a political power or causing internal strife that eventually led to a weakening of the once feared unit. Despite all their might and training, even these Iron Men are human. As you throw yourself into their exercises, you marvel at their stamina and wonder if you'd faint from sheer exhaustion before being able to bear the weight of a full set of armor. Physically, they're trained beyond typical expectations, leaving modern-day fitness buffs looking like armchair-bound novices. Yet, with all their discipline, you soon discover an intriguing quirk: their love for the culinary arts. Yes, even soldiers require their comforts. The tradition of culinary art is strong, with Janissaries famous for their extensive, almost obsessive focus on food preparation and cuisine. Wielding a ladle with as much precision as they would a scimitar, each company employs its own master chef, responsible for preparing meals that would assert and maintain morale. The secret recipes they guarded could easily rival those of top eateries in a modern city and underline an almost familial bond woven through the shared daily bread and rice pilaf. However, things aren't always rosy. Despite being part of this elite group, you can't overlook the dangerous tension lurking beneath their ranks. Discontentment can surface without warning, as they grapple with the stringent conditions and sometimes arbitrary decisions made by commanding officers. You experience firsthand the simmering frustration when rations trickle half-heartedly, a constant reminder of human weakness amid military might. This frustration eventually spills over in moments of dissent, known historically. Who could forget the iconic instances of Janissary rebellions? They displayed astounding strategic insight, one quirk being the surprising choice of overboiling cauldrons as symbols of revolt, adding a strange theatricality to an otherwise grim reality. Through the disciplined power and culinary passion, ironically, run counter to their infamously short tempers, your respect for their resilience and brotherhood grows. Standing shoulder to shoulder, the Janissaries embody a unique dichotomy: part nun, part warrior, symbolizing both the strength and fragility of the Ottoman war machine. As you step back from this militaristic world, the magnitude of the Janissaries' contribution to Ottoman longevity unfolds before you. Yet it's clear, this complex life of rigorous routines, punctuated by sparks of culinary creativity and underlying tension, remains one that, even with modern advantages, you might find yourself ill-prepared to endure. As your mind drifts back to comforts unknown to these soldiers, the rigid discipline and camaraderie of the Janissaries slip into memory, leaving you wandering further into the layered world of an empire built on strength as much as societal nuance. With the disciplined world of the Janissaries behind you, your journey now leads you to a sensory adventure like no other: the realm of Ottoman cuisine. As you wander through the kitchens of a grand Ottoman estate, or perhaps a bustling street stall, your senses are immediately treated to a feast that spans continents, mixing ingredients and flavors in ways both exotic and strangely familiar. Your culinary adventure begins with the lively chatter of the kitchen, where cooks and assistants weave between bubbling pots and sizzling pans with an almost choreographed grace. The fragrances of saffron, cinnamon, and a heady blend of spices swirl around you, mingling with the scent of roasting meats and fresh breads baking in wood-fired ovens. These scents tell tales of long trade routes, spice-laden caravans traversing the empire, introducing not only flavors but also cultural exchanges that spice up more than just the food. Ottoman cuisine is renowned for its complexity and elegance, a fusion of Middle Eastern, Central Asian, and Mediterranean influences, all folded into a unique tapestry that could challenge even a modern foodie. You soon realize that, to them, Meals are a grand performance, a dazzling spectacle of colours, aromas, and tastes that celebrate abundance and hospitality. But don't let your modern sensibilities fool you. Incorporating everything from camel's milk to pomegranate molasses and an endless variety of olives requires an adventurous palate indeed. The Empire's kitchens are, by necessity, well stocked with diverse ingredients. Meat takes centre stage, showcasing their mastery in preparing lamb and chicken transformed into succulent kebabs, with spice combinations as precise and thoughtful as any poem. Historians have long debated whether these culinary choices were purely pragmatic or had deeper cultural significance, reflecting the Empire's status and reach. Regardless, each dish echoes the Empire's glory and ambition. Amidst the aromatic bliss, you're faced with a culinary tradition that might catch you off guard. Offal. While modern kitchens shy away from such delicacies, the Ottomans embrace them wholeheartedly, transforming every part of an animal into culinary masterpieces. Dishes like cocoré seasoned lamb intestines grilled on skewers, challenging your notions of what's palatable as playful cooks sneak up with a plate of tavuk joy, a delectable dessert rice pudding made with shredded chicken breast, yes, chicken in dessert. You hesitantly take a bite. It's surprisingly delightful, creamy and subtly flavoured with rosewater, a dish as peculiar as it is poetic. But it's not just about extravagant feasts. Wander further into the bustling streets, and you encounter the vibrant world of street vendors, offering quick bites and heartier options for labourers and merchants alike. The scent of simite, a circular bread coated in sesame seeds, wafts through the air, inviting a brief escape into the simple pleasures of daily life. Or perhaps you come upon carts laden with freshly pressed pomegranate juice, sharp and refreshing, an almost essential reprieve from the sometimes overwhelming richness of Ottoman cuisine. Turkish coffee is another unmissable treat, dark and thick. Served sweetened and laden with grounds, it's as much a cultural ritual as it is a beverage. Sip it slowly, pondering its depth, and you might overhear a fortune teller interpreting the coffee grounds left behind, a quirk quick to amuse even the most seasoned traveller. While each meal brims with a touch of opulence, surviving the Ottoman culinary adventure is no small feat, especially when your contemporary digestive system insists on modern norms. Your newfound appreciation for their culinary traditions is tempered by the realization that, despite their enchantment, these rich dishes, often heavy on butter and meats, might overwhelm your habitual green salads and quinoa diet. In this enchanting world where flavors, scents, and sights converge, where food narratives parallel those of empires conquered and alliances forged, you gain insight into the heart and stomach of an empire. Sharing a meal in this vivid landscape connects you to stories of hospitality, resilience, and ingenuity, all enticing yet demanding on your modern equilibrium. Wandering forth from this flavorful journey, you carry with you the echoes of Ottoman dinners and learn that savoring a culture isn't always about taste, but also about immersing oneself into stories and traditions. And as you drift away from the captivating aroma of cardamom-infused sweets, you whisper a silent thank you for the invention of antacids, a gentle nod to those culinary challenges you never saw coming. Leaving behind the sumptuous aromas of Ottoman kitchens, you step into the spiritual tapestry that weaves together the diverse narratives of the empire. In the Ottoman world, religion isn't a singular note, but a rich symphony composed of many voices and beliefs. Imagine yourself in a vibrant city where minarets pierce the sky, church bells ring out, and the soft chants from a synagogue float on the air, each uniquely contributing to the communal hum. The Ottoman Empire, at its zenith, spread across vast territories inhabited by Muslims, Christians, Jews, and a host of other religious communities. It might surprise you to find that the Ottomans were renowned for their relative religious tolerance, a strategic necessity as much as an enlightened stance. The militate system allowed communities considerable autonomy, governing their own civil affairs according to their customs and religious laws. This framework helped maintain peace in a diverse empire where tensions might otherwise have flared, a pragmatic approach that feels surprisingly modern. Historians still debate the extent to which this tolerance was genuine or merely a tool of governance. Were the Ottomans ahead of their time in cultivating a relatively harmonious coexistence? Or were they simply shrewd rulers leveraging diversity to their advantage? Whichever the case, the system predominantly worked, allowing meddling only when absolutely necessary. This balance, however tenuous, paints a complex portrait that challenges simplistic stereotypes of imperial oppression. As you walk through the streets of an Ottoman city, the multifaceted layers of religious life are intricate and palpable. Muslim calligraphy embellishes the arches and portals of mosques, echoing the visual melodies of faith, while the high Byzantine domes of churches speak to a deep-rooted Christian legacy. Each structure is a reminder of the collaborative cohabitation, if not of unqualified acceptance. But don't think it was all peaceful coexistence. Differences in practice and the occasional hardline stance from a zealous leader did sometimes trigger conflict, and at times it's curious just how capricious imperial involvement in these affairs could be, swaying with political winds rather than strict adherence to a dogma. Your curiosity piqued, you attend a bustling coffee house, an Ottoman institution where political and theological debates thrive alongside the ubiquitous coffee. Bringing together people from different beliefs, these lively spaces offer informal venues where ideas cross-pollinate, illustrated by your involvement in a spirited discussion about the merits of celestial reasoning over that of earthly governance. It's here you might experience a moment of clarity or confusion. Religious tolerance extends to debate, not just ritual. Yet, even within this amalgam of acceptance, peculiarities persist. Consider the mysticism of the Sufi dervishes, whose whirling dances serve as meditative paths toward the divine. Watching their rhythmic spirals might lull you into a contemplative trance, a beautiful example of spirituality transcending ethnic and religious boundaries. Within the broader Ottoman experience, these movements offer mystical bridges where reason and soul blend harmoniously. You might also come across a lesser-known but intriguing twist. Coffee houses serve as the backdrop to secret dalliances, coded exchanges of flirtation in a world that outwardly values modesty. Here, stark contrasts find equilibrium, drawing a network of lives meeting through faith, commerce, and curiosities unique to this multifaceted empire. Religious tolerance in the Ottoman lands is as much about negotiation as it is about faith. For a modern interloper, eager to understand, it's both revealing and challenging. Interactions reflect not only piety and devotion, but also the sometimes amusing yet touching blending of cultures that mark this landscape. The trestle tables loaded with talks might host counterpoints that leave the unaccustomed flabbergasted rather than enlightened. Through all this, you realize surviving in the empire requires not just a willingness to adapt, but an appreciation for differences, a recognition between tolerance based on principle and that which surfaces through necessity. You bid farewell to the mesmerizing turns of the Sufis and the charming disputes over coffee, understanding you've witnessed a new perspective on the historical narrative, a tapestry where many threads, differing yet complementary, create an enduring portrait of coexistence in a world both foreign and fascinating. As the sun dips below distant minarets, casting long shadows over the cobbled streets, your journey suggests that this intricate fabric of faith and tolerance might well hold timeless lessons for the modern age, a world not so distantly related as initially assumed. Leaving behind the bustling diversity of religious life, you find yourself drawn to the grandeur of Ottoman architecture, a testament to the empire's artistic innovation and lasting legacy. As you wander the streets of Istanbul, formerly Constantinople, your eyes are constantly drawn upwards, where minarets pierce the sky and domes loom large, creating a skyline that is as breathtaking as it is humbling. Ottoman architecture is renowned for its blend of styles, drawing inspiration from the many cultures under its rule, and evolving into a unique form that mirrors the political and cultural wealth of the empire. Imagine standing before the iconic Süleymaniye Mosque, its expansive courtyard welcoming you with an embrace of marble and meticulous symmetry. The meticulous tiles adorning the walls reflect an array of colours in the daylight, while the arrangement of the interior mimics the cosmos, with its vast dome symbolising the heavenly sphere. This isn't just a building, it's a sanctuary of harmony and faith, a masterpiece that speaks volumes about the philosophical and religious underpinnings of its time. While the grand mosques impress with their scale and elegance, the humble homes and hands exude a different kind of charm. Intricately carved shutters and hand-painted wooden beams adorn the simpler abodes, where everyday life continues in concert with the architectural embellishments. Here the past meets the present in a seamless blend, warmly inviting you to ponder the intimacy of shared spaces, where stories and traditions intertwine like the threads of an old, cherished carpet. Yet there is far more to Ottoman architecture than what meets the eye. Historians still debate the extent of influence that Byzantine and Persian styles had on Ottoman designs. with layers of cultural dialogue embedded within the very foundations of these structures. Despite their beauty, these architectural wonders present a unique challenge, navigating daily life without modern amenities like electricity or running water. Sure, the ornate faucets on the walls may look enchanting, but you're in for a surprise when you discover the mechanics behind the ancient systems of water supply, skillfully engineered to deliver life-sustaining liquid through a complex network of aqueducts and fountains. It's fascinating, albeit a bit inconvenient when you realize how much you miss the simple twist of a tap. Exploring these urban environments offers endless opportunities to marvel at the ingenuity behind their construction. Caravanserais, for instance, with their fortified exteriors and welcoming interiors, tell of a bygone era when travelling merchants found refuge and community within their walls. You can almost hear the clanking of tools from blacksmith stalls, smell the roasting meats over open fires, and sense the warmth of shared stories, flickering like candlelight under the vast open courtyards. As you meander through the labyrinthine alleyways of a grand bazaar, the parade of arched ceilings combines the comforting shelter and cooling shadows for those escaping the midday heat. The architectural mastery here isn't just about aesthetics, it's about practicality too. How to keep cool under the blazing Mediterranean sun, how to harness the flow of air and light to create sanctified meditative spaces. You find whimsy amidst the grandeur too. Consider the cunning quirks in design like the concealed listening post at Topkapi Palace or secretly tilted walls designed for acoustic wonders, allowing whispers from one end of a room to be heard clearly on the other. Features devised as much for architectural intrigue as they were for security. Then there's the constant hum of contrasts. A bustling city balanced by serene, tucked-away courtyards where life slows and tranquility reigns. The architectural landscape peels away from ostentation when you least expect it, drawing you into spaces where simplicity offers a gentle embrace. Yet, lurking beneath this magnificence is the relentless reality how these structures embody still hold without constant restoration and attention. Structures unpredictably flicker with fading glory, balancing precariously between historical wonder and the demands of modernization. Amid these explorations, you appreciate not only the aesthetic finesse the empire championed, but also the everyday resilience it cultivated. The buildings stand as monuments to human endeavor and challenges overcome, demanding from their inhabitants a level of interaction, a connection, that might clumsily elude someone more used to concrete and glass monoliths of today. As daylight fades, casting soft golden hues upon these storied structures, you step back, appreciating the silent conversation between past and present. The architectural marvels of the Ottoman Empire, in their enduring splendor, whisper tales of former grandeur and current resilience, a mesmerizing fusion painting a story of a world where beauty held practical significance. In this testament to time, you find lessons of balance, of culture, purpose, and survival, echoing into modernity's restless canvas. As you pull yourself from the architectural allure of the Ottoman Empire, you encounter a darker and more sobering aspect of life: the constant shadow of the plague. The word itself carries a weight that instills a sense of dread, a spectre that lurked around every corner, no matter how grand the palace or how far the village. It's a reminder of the precarious balance between life and death, in a time far removed from modern medicine. Imagine yourself walking through a narrow alley, the air tinged not with spices but with a lingering, almost acrid odour. Smoke from fires intended to purify the air, with the dim hope of warding off disease. In this world, where medicine is more about trial and error than science and certainty, the plague is a relentless adversary that spares no one. It sweeps through the empire, leaving desolation in its wake, a brutal equalizer among the courtly and common folk alike. You can't avoid the tales of cities devastated and families torn apart by this ruthless visitor, a recurring narrative throughout history. In these close-knit communities where life is lived shoulder to shoulder, contagion spreads swiftly, with little regard for the barriers modern advancements would eventually erect. It reminds you that surviving in the Ottoman Empire isn't merely an opposition to enemies of state, but those unseen perils dwelling in each unguarded breath. Despite the palpable fear, the Ottomans were not entirely helpless. They employed various techniques to combat the plague, from quarantine measures along trade routes to establishing plague hospitals, rudimentary facilities, more quarantine zones than centers of healing. While such efforts sound primitive now, They were groundbreaking attempts in a world just beginning to grasp epidemiology. Historians still argue whether these efforts significantly curtailed the spread of diseases, or if the plague was as unstoppable as a charging elephant. The impact of such epidemics wasn't limited to physical health. They left lasting imprints on societal behaviours. For a society steeped in tradition, the adjustments were challenging. Travel was restricted, markets closed at the whims of the invisible visitor, and the often bustling urban landscape quieted overnight. A period of silence. A poignant reflection on the powerlessness felt by all, no matter how high their station. However, human resilience quietly peeks through the gloom. Amidst the fear, there is community spirit. As neighbours support one another, understanding shared vulnerability creates bonds as delicate as the silk threads in the grand bazaars. People adapt, finding solace and stability in small rituals and personal hygiene measures, from fragrant herbs carried in delicate pouches meant to cleanse the air around one's face, to the now familiar sight of masks over the more ornately detailed faces of those daring to venture into the world at large. And still, the Ottoman Empire adapted with notable measures, including the creation of menzil or way stations along major routes, early attempts at providing care and preventing contagion from seeping into urban centres. Despite the uncertainties, these substantial logistical exercises reflected both the resourcefulness and limitations of an empire figuring out how it was intertwined with biology in ways it never had to perceive before. It's fascinating to ponder why certain methods succeeded or failed, yet amidst these sweeping narratives, peculiar tales emerged. There were bizarre theories, such as the belief that the plague was spread by the nefarious glances of strangers, leading to an awkward culture of avoiding eye contact, a behaviour you might find amusing, but all too familiar given modern preoccupations. The ominous spectre of plague is more than just a footnote in Ottoman history. It is an integral part of understanding the daily reality for those living under its shadow. Successfully navigating a world shaped by such challenges underscores the strength and resolve of a people whose roots remain firmly planted in survival and community. So, from amid the haunting echoes of past pandemics arises a poignant reflection, one that resonates deeply within us today. The Ottoman response might have lacked our current scientific understanding, but it's impossible not to reflect on a familiar chord of resilience and hope, woven throughout history's tapestry. As the sun sets, casting a warm but transient light over the streets you now retreat from, you're struck by how these historical lessons continue to echo through the corridors of time. A reminder that, though the faces may change, humanity's struggle for perseverance amid adversity remains timeless. In those shadows, you discern not just tales of the past, but stories of fortitude and hope, waiting in quiet disregard for perseverance to light their way. Stepping out from the shadow of the plague, you're drawn into a more intimate yet equally complex aspect of Ottoman life, the world of women. Often shrouded in mystery, the lives of women in the Ottoman Empire were far more layered than the stereotypes might suggest. Behind the walls of palaces and humble homes alike, women navigated a society enriched with tradition and occasionally constricted by it, yet simultaneously brimming with opportunities for influence and autonomy. Your journey begins within the domestic sphere, the heart of the Ottoman home, where women wielded considerable power, albeit often behind the scenes. Here, within the thick stone walls, women were the steadfast guardians of family and cultural continuity, mastering an unspoken art of diplomacy and societal negotiation. It might surprise you to know that women in the Ottoman Empire could own property, run businesses, and even appear in court to defend their rights, affordances that in some cases outstripped those of their European contemporaries. Yet their lives were tethered to restrictions imposed by tradition. Within the social framework, women observed protocols of modesty and decorum, a dance as intricate as any performed in the Sultan's court. Wearing garments heavy with symbolism, they orchestrated life under finely woven veils that concealed as much as they revealed. You might find it ironic, the layers of anonymity sometimes offered a peculiar kind of freedom to maneuver more deftly behind society's veil of expectation. The world of Ottoman women also included the dimly lit yet vibrantly alive environment of the Harem, a place filled with intrigue and rumour, but steeped in cultural and historical significance. Historians often debate the nature of the harem, with some viewing it as a place of oppression and others highlighting its roles in fostering education and building power networks. For behind the gilded doors and lush gardens, the harem was often a bustling centre of activity, where women actively engaged in politics, culture, and the finer nuances of social influence. Imagine joining the women here, where the air is filled with a delicate blend of rosewater and intrigue. The harem houses mothers who counsel, sisters who scheme, and wives who whisper their influences in the Sultan's ear. It's tempting to dismiss these halls as gilded cages, but many of its inhabitants leverage their positions to yield real power at the heart of the empire. The formidable Valide Sultan, or Sultan's mother, often exercised substantial influence over decisions of state, orchestrating elaborate alliances and deftly navigating palace politics. And beyond the palatial walls, there were women of note who left indelible marks upon their communities. Thinkers, artists, and even occasionally poets, who spun ornate metaphors into the fabric of their society, their work a testament to broader Ottoman literature and its whimsical outturnings. The elegant Say Ghalib's verses wove stories that captured the essence of the human soul, and in them the voices of women, discreet yet insightful, could sometimes be found. Amid these intricate layers of female influence, whimsical tales bloom to consider the superstitions that coloured daily life, like that of the Qadi's daughters, known to seek crafting skills that blended both practicality and magic, ensuring their place in a household tapestry rich with mystical energy, woven from the spinning wheels of both innovation and whimsy. The paradox of the Ottoman woman resides in the balance between these private and public realms, where despite limitations they adeptly carved out areas of power, crafting legacies of influence felt even today. Step beyond the veils and hear the music, touch the art, and absorb the wisdom these women guarded and shared. Their realm is not one defined by captivity, but by the resilience and adaptability that turned silence into words and shadows into stories. As evening draws near, lanterns over doorways begin to flicker, illuminating the nuanced paths you've travelled. The collective voices of Ottoman women, layered with complexity and diverse in narrative, whisper messages waiting to be understood, a testament to a shared humanity marked by grit and grace. They are the companions of time, knitting together the tapestry of an empire, with threads dyed in patience, skill, and profound understanding. As you muse over these intertwined histories, it's clear this journey into the Ottoman past reveals not just the endurance of its women, but illuminates an enduring legacy of resilience, powerful enough to reflect and inspire those who wander along today's paths. With every step, the continuum of influence crafted by Ottoman women finds resonance in the modern scrolls of history, affirming that behind every empire's facade, the stories within crouch confidently, defining and redefining what power truly means. Leaving behind the broader spectrum of life for Ottoman women, you find yourself drawn towards the enigmatic and often misunderstood world of the harem. Picture stepping past ornately carved doors into an environment rich with colour and the rustling of silk, a place equal parts sanctuary and stage, where power dynamics and personal stories intertwine like delicate threads in an imperial tapestry. The harem, often romanticized or vilified, was far more than a mere collection of the Sultan's wives and concubines. It was a complex institution steeped in protocol and tradition. Historians often debate whether it was a golden cage or a court of influence. Regardless of perspective, the harem functioned as a vital nerve center of palace life, an apt reminder of how thin the line between myth and reality can often be. Picture yourself moving through its lush corridors, where verdant gardens and fountains offer tranquility, yet conceal an undercurrent of tension and ambition. These quarters are alive with whispers and laughter, a place rich with the stories of women who sought their destinies amid whispers and court intrigue. Here, the stakes went beyond personal ambition, and pleasure politics played out in subtle gestures, clandestine notes, and strategic marriages. Women in the harem played significant roles in the empire's political machinations, none more so than the Valide Sultan, the Sultan's mother, who often exerted considerable influence, steering both domestic affairs and foreign policies. As the power behind the throne, she exercised authority over the harem and, by extension, over the future heirs of the empire. You might think of her as a kind of prime minister, her sphere of influence extending far beyond the palace's secluded walls. While the Gynaecum was no modern boardroom, its politics were no less intricate. Every woman within might have her own aspirations, whether it be securing favour with the Sultan, ensuring the prosperity of her children, or both. These ambitions often led to complex alliances, rivalries, and sometimes outright vendettas. Yet there was camaraderie too, a shared understanding forged in the crucible of their unique circumstances. An interesting tradition of gifting within the harem lent itself to both friendships and rivalries. Imagine exchanges of embroidered textiles and cosmetics, seemingly innocuous tokens that could carry double meanings, and even craftily convey hidden messages. Historians find this practice fascinating, for it casts light on the subtle art of negotiation and influence that flourished in this enclosed world. A peculiar quirk you might appreciate is the servitude of eunuchs within the harem, individuals who, though displaced from their own identities, wielded great authority as intermediaries between the Sultan and the women of the harem. These men, nimbly walking a delicate line between servitude and power, formed another nuanced layer within the fabric of the palace intrigue. Despite its sumptuous setting, life in the harem wasn't without its challenges. Chafing beneath the constant vigilance and formalities, you might feel as though you're constantly auditioning for a part in a play where the script was both a privilege and a constraint. This environment could forge formidable characters, revealing the iron strength beneath silk-clad exteriors. The harem has borne the weight of misconceptions throughout history, sometimes portrayed merely as a backdrop of opulence and leisure, but to see it through such a narrow lens undermines the reality. It was a crucible of education, a centre of cultural exchange, and the unseen node of power plays that shaped the fate of empires. As you tread the cool mosaic-tiled floors and glance at the high walls that both protect and confine, you come to realize that the harem embodies more than its mystique suggests. It's a microcosm of the empire itself, a place where influences converged, intentions ripened, and the course of history was, at times, redirected with an elegant whisper. Stepping back into the present, the harem's echoes linger as a poignant reminder that opulence may conceal both vulnerability and power. As night descends, casting intricate shadow patterns across the elaborate latticework, you reflect on the stories of endurance, adaptation, and influence waiting to breathe as vibrantly as ever beyond those storied walls. These pathways hold tales not of seclusion alone, but the poignant potential to shape an entire world from within. Leaving behind the intricate politics of the harem's corridors, you're now drawn to the open sea, where the formidable Ottoman navy once commanded power and respect across vast waters. Join the sailors aboard a grand galleon, feeling the salty spray as you're greeted by a panorama of azure waves stretching to the horizon. A space that promised both adventure and peril. The Ottoman navy, a significant force from the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean, was more than just military might. It was a symbol of the empire's reach and ambition. As you gaze towards the deck's bustling activity, it's hard not to be captivated by the sheer scale of the operations that underpinned the empire's naval prowess. Despite their well-orchestrated maneuvers, surviving the elements of the open sea with the technology of the time was no small feat, exposing both crew and vessel to relentless waves and merciless storms. Your senses are besieged with the energy and clamour of men at work, tending to intricate rigging and labouring tirelessly at ratlines. They hum shanties filled with tales of mermaids and mythical horizons, sounds relaying rhythm and camaraderie, sparked by the shared challenges of maritime life. Yet life at sea isn't just about stories and songs. There's a stark reality where the sea, with its untamed might, can become as fierce an adversary as any naval foe. Historians still argue whether the empire's naval strength was primarily attributed to innovation or the sheer courage and resilience of its sailors. Either way, it's clear that technology alone couldn't sustain supremacy upon the seas. The development of fearsome galleys, for example, equipped with cannon-laden decks and steered by experienced mariners, signified a blend of skill and innovation. These ships weren't just impressive, they were symbols of an empire willing to embrace the sea with all its capacities. In the midst of this maritime life abound peculiar quirks, such as the respected tradition of shadow puppetry performances. Crew members would often indulge in these moments of storytelling, casting shadowy tales of old into the sails by the light of an oil lamp. These narratives served not only as entertainment, but as valuable vessels carrying cultural lore, binding disparate backgrounds into a communal consciousness. Despite the brotherhood forged atop the human jungle gym of sails and masts, daunting challenges lurked beneath the surface. Navigating hostile waters risked encounters with pirate ships and enemy navies, and maintaining naval superiority required strategic ruthlessness. Even the most seasoned among the crew found themselves drawn into the treacherous ebb and flow of battle, where alliances shifted as frequently as the tides. The desire for control over lucrative trade routes often set the stage for complex political entanglements and strategic gambits played on the high seas. It's worth mentioning the sense of adventure that pulled many young men into naval service, lured by tales of distant lands and rich rewards. Yet, any romantic notions dulled rapidly against the grind of daily duty and the gnawing uncertainty of what lay beyond the horizon. Those with sea legs not seasoned by experience might find themselves victim to the whim of the wind, a reminder not to let your dreams outpace your endurance. Beneath the camaraderie and adventure lay the pragmatism of discipline. If one thought court etiquette was tedious, wait until the naval drills of coordinated maneuvering and cannon loading presented their labyrinth of exactitude. And let's not forget the looming spectre of scurvy, a constant reminder that even the boldest sailors must sometimes pay heed to the humble line. Tales of naval excursions often revolve around expansions and conquests, yet less frequently noted were voyages of exploration and diplomacy, where the exchange of goods and ideas helped knit the vast empire together. Each new port held possibilities, new alliances, and, occasionally, marvelous discoveries that reach beyond the sea's embrace. As the horizon dips beneath the auburn glow of a setting sun, and your steps gently sway to the rhythm of rolling waves, the echoes of history's vast waters recede. While it's tempting to idealize this life as pure adventure, it's clear that surviving the sea was much about mastering adaptability as it was about embracing the unpredictable swells of fate. As you retreat from this maritime journey, you carry with you the rhythmic chants and the audacious tales of those who ventured forth upon the ocean's breadth. Their legacy arcs like a ship's bow across time, leaving you to ponder the ceaseless interplay of human endeavor and the great unknown where ambition, courage, and the sea's mighty vastness come together to forge an indelible story etched on the waves. Shifting your focus from the expansive horizon of Ottoman naval exploits, you delve into the realm of science and technology, where innovation quietly flourished beneath the empire's vast cultural and political tapestry. Imagine yourself trudging the cobblestone streets of an urban centre, as scholars and craftsmen busily buzz around you, drawn together by a shared thirst for knowledge. Within the empire, the pursuit of science merged harmoniously with the influence of past civilization. Islamic scholars like Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Al-Razi had already laid important foundational work, and the Ottomans built upon this legacy, absorbing and adapting knowledge from Greeks, Persians, Arabs, and others. You find yourself in awe of the hybrid vigor that allowed their science to flourish in areas as diverse as astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and engineering. Contrary to the often singular focus of modern specialization, Ottoman scholars exhibited a polymath approach to knowledge, each innovation reflecting a synthesis of interdisciplinary learning. Picture yourself in an Ottoman observatory, where scientists labor to chart the heavens with remarkable precision. Celestial spheres twirling in models captivate you with ethereal grace, while astronomers, whose calculations would inform not just observation but navigation and timekeeping, debate the cosmos's mysteries. Historians continue to discuss whether these scientific advances were propelled by curiosity alone or by a more complex interplay of necessity and patronage. Nonetheless, one thing is clear: the Ottoman contribution to scientific progress often came cloaked in calculated practicality, a blend of theoretical exploration and real-world application. Alongside these advancements, quirky innovations abound. Consider the fabulously Ottoman water clock, an invention both ingenious and improbable. Using ingenious gears and improbables, it's an elaborate contraption whose sole purpose today might have been to confound horologists as much as keep time. It's truly a spectacle, reflecting the fine line between inventive brilliance and quizzical whimsy. Equally fascinating is the realm of medicine, an area where Ottoman contributions, often overlooked, intersect skillfully with modernity. Physicians here were known for their meticulous surgical skills and cautery techniques, sometimes rivaling those of contemporary medicine. However, brace yourself if you're squeamish, as these medieval marvels had an approach that, while progressive for their age, might seem a touch medieval for yours. From medical treatises filled with herbal remedies to pharmacies that doubled as centres for alchemical experiments, life in the Ottoman scientific world encapsulated an enchanting blend of the mystic and the methodical. They were not magicians, but visionaries of complex rituals, making a brew of the abstract, often infusing reason with a touch of the ineffable. Despite its scientific forays, the empire occasionally exhibited an aversion to progress, postponing advancements like the adoption of the printing press, a decision historians often debate, considering its eventual global influence. This resistance, driven by a fear of losing control over knowledge dissemination, serves as a reminder of the delicate power dance between tradition and technological advancement. Even as you wander past experiments in engineering and architecture, witnessing watermills and aqueducts that silently shape everyday life, you note a peculiar cultural juxtaposition. The Ottomans display curiosity tempered by pragmatism, resulting in innovations that enhance rather than overpower tradition. A careful balancing act harmonizing innovation with time-honored customs. Perhaps it's this embrace of harmony that best describes the Ottoman approach, where art and science permeate daily life. The calligraphy adorning the mosque walls isn't solely aesthetic. It's an exercise in geometric precision, offering a small yet profound testament to mathematical elegance passing as devotional artistry. As the shadows of the day stretch over your path, the muffled sounds of academic debate echo within chambers of learning, guiding your journey to a lighter pond. The legacy of Ottoman science and technology is much like a famed whirling dervish, spinning, twisting, and evolving as it dances with the steps of time, carving intricate narrative arcs upon the sands of history. With each footfall, you wonder what echoes your own era will leave behind, understanding that the innovative spirit, whether monumental or modest, remains a constant thread weaving through the fabric of human curiosity. In these vestiges of discovery gleams a timeless truth. Acknowledge, both shared and accumulated, lights the way forward, resonating through an eternal dance of enlightened ambition. From the world of scientific inquiry and innovation, your journey through the Ottoman Empire next takes you to a realm of visual splendor, the world of Ottoman fashion. Picture yourself walking through a lively street, your eyes feasting on a parade of vibrant colors and intricate patterns that are themselves a tapestry of cultural influences. The empire's rich history is mirrored in its textiles, a feast for the eyes, yet a challenge to wear with ease. Ottoman fashion didn't merely dress the body, it communicated status, wealth, and identity. As you navigate the bustling streets, you're dazzled by robes of bright reds, deep blues, and striking golds, each layer lovingly spun from luxurious silk or wool. For an empire that spanned 3 continents, the clothing was as diverse as its domain, with each region lending its own distinctive flair to the panoply of garments adorning the people. You might think such opulence was relegated to the elite, but even among common folk, clothing held a level of vibrancy and significance that might seem surprising to modern eyes accustomed to the grey uniformity of everyday wear. Clothing was not only functional, but an art form, a reflection of the empire's eclectic fusion of influences, from Persian perfumed silks to Byzantine-inspired embroidery. The specifics of Ottoman attire tell their own stories. Kaftans and entari, Aryan Ottoman frock-like dress, are cut in styles designed to facilitate movement while concealing the wealth of layers beneath, a nod to both modesty and pragmatism. These garments were not merely stitched together. They were assembled like a painter's canvas, with each element contributing to the broader masterpiece. Every thread, color, and motif selected says something unique about its wearer, revealing tales of regional pride, social status, and personal taste. Historians still debate whether Ottoman fashion was an organic evolution or a strategic endeavor to project power. Regardless, it's clear that clothing was as much about presentation as it was about protection from the elements. With unique designs woven from traditions, each piece became a story stitched into the communal fabric. Yet another reminder of the fusion of practicality and opulence. The landscape of fashion wasn't devoid of fun quirks. The Ottoman world had a peculiar penchant for tulip motifs, a flourish expressing not just an aesthetic preference, but a cultural phenomenon known as the tulip era. An intriguing period marked by a fascination with beauty and excess that might spark a bemused grin for its dedication to stylish obsession. Footwear, too, offered its own twist, albeit less on grand visual display. Consider the nulla, distinctively wooden clogs worn in bathhouses to protect delicate feet from hot floors. A curious mix of functionality and style that would make the most avant-garde sneakerhead nod approvingly. While you may appreciate the artistry from a distance, you quickly learn that handling Ottoman layers is no small task. The expertly wielded silk wraps challenge fingers unaccustomed to such delicate flair. One does not simply throw on an intari. These garments demand careful draping and precise fastening, skills that inadvertently draw a deeper appreciation for the patience and practice honed over time. Yet it's not just the clothing itself that tells a tale. It's the society woven into its fabric. In the bustling bazaars, tailors offer their talents, crafting garments tailored to individual measures and intricate tastes. Sisters and mothers spin tales through the needle's eye, evoking familial bonds amid the artistry. Through their threads, you're reminded that even fashion's practical purpose safeguards stories of identity, culture, and community. As you wander through this sartorial symphony, evening shadows cast new patterns upon the layers you've admired, silhouettes of legacy, artistry, and individuality captured timelessly upon a wide and varied canvas stretching throughout history. Returning from this vibrant exploration of Ottoman fashion, you might not immediately pine for your trusty jeans and t-shirts, but you must admit that clothing is not just about covering, but about revealing, a truth that spans centuries and continents, speaking to what we cherish, celebrate, and strive to become. Wrapped in this embracing reverie, the whispers of Ottoman sartorial history forge both comfort and colour, layering the stories of past and present in a splendid ensemble of imagination and tradition. Wandering away from the vivid and intricate world of Ottoman fashion, you find yourself being slowly drawn into the enchanting realm of the empire's poetry and arts. Here, words are more than just a medium of communication. They are vessels of beauty and emotion, vividly painting the landscapes of thought and feeling. The Ottomans, with their rich cultural tapestry, embraced poetry and literature as deeply as they did their science and fashion. Imagine yourself seated in a shadowy, sumptuously decorated salon, the scent of rose water and burning frankincense swirling gently through the air. You're surrounded by poets, musicians, and artists, each contributing to an atmosphere ripe with creativity and inspiration. This is a world where the arts flourish, not at the periphery of society, but at its very heart. A world where poetry is a revered form of expression and communication. Ottoman poetry spans a range of styles and forms, from epic chronicles of battles and dynastic triumphs to the delicate ghazals that explore the depths of love, loss, and the divine. At the heart of it all is the mastery of language, a skill that transcends mere words, aiming to touch the soul. Poets like Fuzuli and Baki, whose works you might hear recited in this gathering, held positions of esteem comparable to court officials. Historians still debate whether the flourishing of Ottoman poetry was primarily fueled by patronage or by an inherent cultural passion for art. Whatever the impetus, the culture surrounding these works was vibrant and driven by a diverse array of voices, with wide-reaching influences from Persian, Arabic, and Turkish traditions, each bringing its own melodic lilt to the poetic form. Beyond their literary value, poetry gatherings are social events, places where ideas bloom and people exchange thoughts freely. With each recitation, you experience the power of poetry to unite, to inspire, and to challenge. It's a reminder that this isn't poetry confined to the written page. It's living, breathing art that moves through these communities like lifeblood. A whimsical tradition you might find delightful is the art of shadow plays, karagoz, and hativat performances where light and shadow merge, creating humorous tales that poke fun at society, blending performance poetry with satirical commentary that resonates long after the songs end and the actors retire. These performances remind you of the many nuances within Ottoman art. Low art coexists alongside high. Satire mingles with sincere reverence. The intricate miniatures painted on paper, illustrating grand tales or intimate daily scenes, distract you for a moment, drawing you into their meticulous details and vibrant colours. The miniatures leave you questioning whether their purpose was purely ornamental or intentional cultural chronicles captured on canvas, perhaps plots more elaborate than their size suggests. For all its beauty, Ottoman poetry and art weren't without their darker undertones. Behind the grace of each penned line or crafted note could lie a reflection of the empire's complexities, sharpening themes of melancholy and existential yearning. Poetry had an ability to speak softly of dissent while maintaining civility, a delicate dance where words might slip through veiled political critique as easily as love's embrace. The importance of poetry also extended into daily life. Even among the common folk, sharing couplets was a form of both courtship and camaraderie, a playful duel of verbal creativity that offered both entertainment and showing one's wit. The markets, alive with the hum of trade, often carried the soft undertone of merchants trading verses with as much vigor as spices. As your journey deeper into the heart of the Ottoman cultural renaissance carries on, the empire's art reaffirms its place as one of civilization's most profound achievements. Art not only enhanced life aesthetically, it strengthened the intricate mosaic of societal dynamics, blending themes and tones with subtlety and clarity. As day turns to dusk, casting a deeper palette of shadows across the landscape, you are left musing on the enduring elegance of Ottoman poetry and arts. They speak of humanity's timeless longing for beauty, connection, and expression. A reminder that across centuries and borders, these notes resonate as clear and true as whenever they were first composed. Softly slipping into the embrace of evening, you carry with you the dulcet echoes of verse and song, the immortal music of an empire woven through the tender threads of artful legacy, a realm where the human spirit converses intimately with the divine. Here, tradition and innovation combine in timeless harmony, underscoring the creative feats of human endeavor that remain, through each recited line or painted stroke, forever whispered on the winds of time. Stepping away from the mesmerizing world of Ottoman poetry and arts, your exploration next takes you to the rustic charm of an Ottoman village. Here, life unfolds at a measured pace, steeped in timeless traditions and close-knit community ties. Gone are the grand palaces and bustling bazaars. Instead, you find yourself immersed in a world where the rhythms of nature dictate the flow of daily existence. As you make your way along the dusty paths, the air filled with the scent of freshly turned earth, you notice the simplicity and rhythm of village life plays out much like the natural cycles of the seasons. The villagers, clad in practical yet colourful garments, greet each other warmly, their conversations a melody of familiarity and shared history. This village, like many others, thrives on agriculture, its people deeply connected to the land that sustains them. You'll find that life in these villages centres around the communal aspects of living. The village square serves as a vibrant hub where neighbours gather to exchange news, barter goods and offer mutual support. In a society where family and community are paramount, every festival, wedding and even the small joy of a communal meal is a vivid tapestry of shared experiences and collective memory. Yet, beneath this communal harmony lies an intricate web of customs and traditions that define and sometimes confine the lives of the villagers. Custom dictates rituals. Weddings are replete with symbolism, stages of life marked by elaborate ceremonies, and even the simplest of gatherings come structured by long-held traditions. The weight of ancestral customs is balanced by the practical necessities of life on the land. Historians still explore whether the resilience of the Ottoman village stemmed purely from these social structures or a deeper, more spiritual connection to their surroundings. Either way, the villagers' relationship with the earth, their traditions, and each other provided a steadfast foundation against the uncertainties offered by the wider world. Though daily life can be demanding, it's punctuated with Mediterranean flavours that delight the senses. Olive groves with branches heavy with fruit, the tang of ripe figs, and the sharp richness of freshly brewed coffee enjoyed thick and potent. In the fields, you witness the seasonal planting and harvesting that have marked the calendar for generations. Together, the men and women form an efficient chorus of labour, their tools clinking rhythmically, a soundscape speaking both to their diligence and their symbiotic relationship with nature. Village life is not without its charming peculiarities. The presence of gossip, a universal village quirk, is ever present, weaving narratives and forging bonds as stories morph with each retelling. In the old tea house, elders play backgammon, discussing everything from politics to weather predictions, quietly reflecting on the larger currents of the emperor's far-reaching hand impacting their slice of the empire. In a world seemingly unchanged by time, it's worth noting that children play an essential role too. They learn by participating in everyday chores, the songs they sing leading rhythmic rounds of harvesting or knitting them into celebrations. Their education comprises a mix of tradition and emerging ideas, bridging the knowledge of the past with dreams for the future. Yet, amidst the comforting familiarity of village life, lies the underlying challenge of self-sufficiency. The villagers' resourcefulness is evident in their ability to harness every available resource, making do with what they have, a feat of both practicality and resilience. Life here demands an unwavering spirit and a touch of resilience known only to those who till the soil and understand nature's capriciousness. You soon find yourself in sync with the village's gentle cadence, warmed by the simple happiness of life woven with earth's golden threads. The chairs under the olive tree offer a place for reflection, the ground comfortable from use and generations of conversations. It's a kind of serenity unto itself. As the sun dips below the hills, painting the village in soothing hues of orange and rose, the day winds down with the laughter of children playing in fields and the chatter of villagers returning home, a mosaic of life and laughter that echoes through the village streets. While the grandeur of cities and the opulence of courts capture history's headlines, it's here, in these quaint corners of the empire, where you find the enduring beating heart of Ottoman life. These villages offer you an intimate glimpse into the roots of resilience, reminding you that great empires rest not only on power, but on the subtler strengths of communities and the bonds they forge over shared histories and common goals. As you move on, the timeless heartbeat of the village keeps rhythm with your steps, subtly sketching the enduring dance of tradition and change, carefully etched within each ancient stone and every whispering grove, a landscape where the spirit perseveres in the quiet strength of its people, endlessly nurturing the seeds of tomorrow. Transitioning from the serene heart of an Ottoman village, your journey now leads you along the empire's expansive trade routes, the lifelines that tied this sprawling domain to the wider world. Picture yourself embarking upon a caravanserai's bustle at dawn, where merchants from distant lands converge, their goods packed on camelback, ready to travel the arduous paths that thread continents together. These trade routes are more than mere pathways for commerce. They're arteries of cultural exchange and innovation that pulse with the promise of adventure and danger alike. You stand on the precipice of an empire's vast network, a sprawling web stretching from the silk markets of the East to the bustling cities of Europe. Each intersection hums with the energy of enterprise, where the exotic mingles with the familiar, driving forward both the empire's economy and its ever-evolving identity. Wandering along these routes, you're enveloped by the sense of rare spices, rich textiles in endless hues, and the subtle earthy fragrance of leather goods. The cacophony of languages, Turkish, Persian, Arabic, and beyond, swirls around you. A symphony of dialects and accents that speaks to the diverse origins of the traders who travel these passageways. Each interaction holds the potential for both profit and peril, highlighting the delicate balances struck between competition and cooperation. Amidst this thriving commerce, you might wonder how such vast networks were managed. Historians still argue whether the empire's success stemmed primarily from its calculated policies or the sheer stamina of individuals who braved the elements in the name of trade. Empires might set the stage, but it's the merchants and labourers who truly animate these lanes, blazing trails as much with hope as with haggled agreements. The lands along these routes are dotted with caravans, Eray's fortified inns providing refuge and exchange for weary travellers and beasts. You stop at one such haven, where traders gather over steaming tureens of soup, exchanging tales of dunes conquered and deals struck, their camaraderie fueled by the unspoken understanding of their shared journeys. These caravanserais, with their sturdy walls and bustling courtyards, were the network's backbone, vital for offering safety from bandits and the harsh embrace of the desert night. In such an environment, innovation flourished. Mechanics and traders exchanged ideas alongside wares, their simple tweaks and experiments gradually transforming into breakthroughs that made subsequent journeys faster, safer, and more profitable. Each route, while carrying physical goods like silk and spices, also carried seeds of knowledge and novelty, ideas both mundane and monumental that would sprout wherever they found fertile ground. The trader's journey wasn't devoid of quirks either. Consider the peculiar custom where merchants, upon making safe passage through treacherous routes or dangerous passes, would leave small tokens, such as coins or amulets, at milestones, a gesture of gratitude or superstition, offering protection and continuity for future wanderers. These bits of personal history, entwined with the larger narrative in delicate webs stretched across the empire. As you retrace a journey laden with bolts of fabric, wagons of ceramic pottery, or intricately embroidered manuscripts, you glean a deeper appreciation of the strength, perseverance, and adaptability required to navigate such a world. It's a resilient dance, where seasons and politics might arbitrarily affect access, dictating more than what a ledger might suggest. The trade routes weren't merely for the movement of goods. They cultivated connection. They cultivated the bond between legend and commerce, creating lifelines not just for the empire, but for far-reaching effects that still resonate with the modern traveller standing before a market stall today. As your day on these step-worn roads fades into a different hue and caravans prepare for another night's journey in the cooling desert air, you're reminded of the vital role these routes played and continue to play. They were the empire's veins, carrying life and promise, threading together lands and people in a richly woven fabric of exchange and evolution. Allowing yourself a moment to breathe in the whispered tales of the generations of traders who came before, you marvel at how their stories remain vibrant in the landscape, tracing patterns of trade, invention and discovery that still hold relevance amid modern networks of connectivity. Their legacies continue to ripple throughout history, offering timeless reminders of resilience and endeavour. The universal pursuit of connection, barely contained within the confines of time or geography. Leaving behind the bustling commerce of the Ottoman trade routes, your journey now takes you into the intricate world of the empire's justice and legal system. Envision stepping into a courtroom filled with earnest debate and layered with tradition, where the scales of justice are delicately balanced by both cultural history and evolving governance. In the Ottoman Empire, the legal system was a carefully constructed tapestry woven from strands of Sharia law, customary laws known as kanun, and local traditions. As you stand in the sunlit corner of a court, the interplay between these legal fabrics becomes apparent. Justice here is not simply a matter of law, but a nuanced dialogue between tradition and authority, a dynamic continuum influenced by the ever-shifting landscape of an expansive empire. The Ottomans employed a unique approach, with the Sultan wielding ultimate legal authority, yet delegating much power to regional beys and kadishes, judges. Each had the discretion to interpret laws within the scope of their local culture, allowing for considerable flexibility in governance. This decentralization of power was both a strength and a challenge, leaving you to wonder how such a vast empire maintained coherence amid its diversity of laws and customs. Historians still argue whether this legal structure was primarily designed for efficiency or control. However, in practice, it often manifested as a patchwork of legal decisions meant to accommodate a multitude of voices from different cultures, religions, and regions within the empire. As you observe proceedings, you might be fascinated by the formality of the process. Cadis preside with dignity, advisors whispering in their ears while ornate scrolls and legal books fill the room with the tangible weight of law. Yet, alongside this solemnity, runs a thread of unpredictability. Judgments could be strikingly swift, the outcome heavily reliant upon a judge's interpretation of all these overlapping legal codes. The quirks of the Ottoman legal system reveal themselves in surprising ways. Take, for example, the iconic image of the imperial tugra, a calligraphic signature of the Sultan found on countless decrees and edicts. A symbol of power and legitimacy, the tugra ensured that the Sultan's voice resonated throughout all layers of bureaucracy, cementing his role as the empire's ultimate arbiter. Yet, not all stories of justice in the Ottoman world were easily written on parchment. Consider how societal norms often played a subtle but critical role in shaping minor disputes, guided more by community consensus than by strict legal interpretation, a reflection of how familial and village ties continued to influence justice. Such informal resolutions frequently became the foundation for maintaining peace and social harmony, especially in the most remote corners of the empire. Within this world of law and order existed peculiar traditions, such as the case of the shadow trial, where, rather than bringing forth witnesses, some smaller claims were resolved by placing trust in an individual's shadow innocence, supposedly intact if the shadow lay unflinchingly still. This sometimes bemusing blend of superstition and judicial expedience encapsulates the empire's blend of pragmatism and cultural mysticism. Despite any quirks, there was gravity in these dealings. If you were a villager seeking redress from an Ottoman judge, the stakes could be high. The expectation here wasn't simply for justice to be carried out, but that it would be seen to be done. A balancing act between expectations and ideal outcomes. Even so, it wasn't merely the disputes that came through the courthouse doors that defined Ottoman justice. It was also in deciding which laws to adopt or ignore, reshaping societal values over time. The legacy of justice stretched far beyond courtrooms, serving as a testament to the complexities of governance in a multi-ethnic empire that sought consistency amid diversity. As you step away from the courthouse, the memory of the firm yet flexible Ottoman justice system lingers, reminding you of the subtle dance between power, law, and custom, a dance that continues to echo through history's longest corridors. With the sun beginning to lower and the court's firm echoes becoming softer whispers, you grasp the multifaceted nature of justice in this diverse realm. It tells of a journey where human fairness often treads delicately upon the tightrope of civilization, seeking a balance between the letter of the law and the spirit of compassion. A continual quest for equilibrium that all societies strive to achieve. As you step away from the echo of legal discourse, you're drawn into the warm, aromatic embrace of one of the Ottoman Empire's most enjoyable social institutions, the coffee house. Picture yourself entering a space filled with ambient chatter and the rich, earthy scent of freshly brewed Turkish coffee, where every corner hums with the vibrancy of conversation, collaboration, and, occasionally, controversy. The Ottoman coffee house is much more than a place to merely enjoy a drink. It is a vibrant social hub, a melting pot of ideas, where people from every stratum of society gather to exchange news, opinions, and stories. You find yourself in a room teeming with people merchants, poets, scholars, and craftsmen, all united by a shared appreciation for both coffee and discourse. Here, the clinking of cups harmonizes with animated debates, creating an atmosphere of intellectual camaraderie. Upon entering, you notice the coziness of the setup. Low tables set with delicate porcelain cups and plush cushions strewn about, inviting you to relax and settle in for a long stay. The intricate patterns on the walls, warmed by the soft glow of oil lamps, create an environment that is both intimate and public. A perfect dichotomy embodying the coffee house's role as a place of community. Historians continue to argue about whether the explosive popularity of coffee houses attributed more to the allure of the coffee itself or to their social utility. Regardless, these establishments quickly became the heart of Ottoman public life, offering a space where the exchange of ideas could flow as freely as the dark steaming brew. The art of coffee was no small matter either. Each cup is expertly crafted, the coffee ground to a fine powder, subtly sweetened or left intense and bold, then brewed to perfection over a small brazier. The thick, aromatic blend is served with its inevitable grounds, a medium sometimes used by fortune-tellers to divine the future, a charming quirk that ties back to the empire's fascination with the mystical. As you settle in and take a sip, you become enveloped in the gentle buzz of dialogue around you. A group in one corner debates the latest political maneuvers of the Sultan's court, while another discusses the works of a recent poet, dissecting verses with a fervour reserved for matters of the heart. It's a microcosm of the empire, a testament to its diversity and the active engagement of its citizens. In many ways, coffee houses reflect the undercurrents of Ottoman society. Within these walls, speech is often as free and rejuvenating as the coffee, allowing for criticisms and satire to circulate, albeit not without risk. Indeed, the witty exchanges that occur here possess the potential to influence opinions and policies far beyond the humble hearth. Yet, not all coffeehouse exchanges centre on profound matters. Light-hearted discussions abound. Merchants haggling over prices weave stories into their bargains, and raucous debates over local sports or plays thrive where tensions are easily dissolved by laughter. You might find an impromptu game of chess developing at the next table, drawing in observers whose claps and cheers bring the room alive with camaraderie. These establishments also foster the formation of friendships and alliances, sometimes even conspiracies, fueled as much by coffee as by intrigue. The strategic understanding that ideas can ignite movements gives coffee houses a revered place in history, often dubbed the penny universities of their time. Even as you sit there, soaking up the ambient warmth and depth of discussions, the coffee house around you pulses with the rhythm of life. Through these interactions, it illustrates how the sharing of stories over a simple cup of coffee can perform miracles of connection and understanding, often becoming the birthplace of countless ideas and innovations. As the evening draws to a close, the day's topics wane and the coffeehouse operators gently extinguish the lamps. With the fading aroma of coffee hanging in the air, linger the subtle reminders of shared humanity and the ever-unfinished conversations of a world continuously in motion. The memory of this gathering stays with you as you step outside, savouring the enduring legacy of the Ottoman coffeehouse, a place where the everyday intertwined with the extraordinary, leaving its mark on both the tongue and the soul. In the gentle sway of night, you reminisce about the essence of these cherished havens, inviting us all to connect, listen, and find inspiration in the simple pleasures of taste, and talk, a timeless ritual steaming forward through time's eternal brew. Having partaken in the vibrant atmosphere of the Ottoman coffee house, you now find yourself drawn to the more leisurely pursuits of the empire's aristocracy. An exploration of both sport and relaxation that reflects the elegance and opulence of the Ottoman elite. This world is marked by a blend of refined pastimes and activities designed not only to entertain, but to reinforce social status and prestige. As you wander the opulent grounds of an Ottoman estate, you are surrounded by meticulously manicured gardens that evoke both awe and serenity. Fountains trickle musically, while peacocks strut gracefully across the lawns, adding to the serene ambience. It's a setting ripe for leisure, where time is spent indulging in luxurious pursuits that cater to the aristocracy's sophisticated tastes. Hunting, for instance, is more than mere sport. It's an assertion of martial prowess, a chance to demonstrate skill and nobility. The Ottomans embraced hunting as an art form, with elaborate hunting parties often spanning several days, complete with attendants, elaborate tents, and feasts served in the wild. You can imagine the scene, the regal procession of mounted riders armed with ornately crafted bows, moving through rolling landscapes in pursuit of game. This activity, both solitary and communal, serves not only as recreation, but as a means of reinforcing alliances and showcasing regal authority. The splendid tapestry of Ottoman leisure extends beyond the hunt. In the quiet alcoves of the estate, you might witness a game of chess, a pastime embraced by many cultures, yet finely refined here to an art of strategy and wit. Aristocrats often gathered for tournaments, where a single game might stretch languidly over hours, highlighting the patience and intellect deemed so important in polite society. In conversation with your fellow guests, you might consider the colourful jests and tales woven throughout Ottoman leisure, such as the whimsical team sports played occasionally within the secluded gardens. Whether improvising a ball game or inventing new contests, aristocrats often engaged a playful spirit of innovation, infusing daily routines with humour and light-hearted competition. Yet not every day is alive with the pulse of hunting horns or the clink of chess pieces. Some days leisure is more subdued, taking the form of baths within the grand hammams. These luxurious bathhouses are architectural marvels, where relaxation is as much ritual as repose. Within the walls, shrouded in fragrant steam, guests enjoy therapeutic massages and socialize, finding repose in a pastime synonymous with Ottoman elegance. Relaxation of this nature isn't merely for hygiene or leisure, it is a restorative act, a retreat where mind and body are nurtured together. In this world, the sense of absolute disconnect from the rapidities of daily life is palpable, inviting noble participants to sink into the sumptuousness of pleasure and tranquility. Skilled hammam attendants apply perfumed oils with the elegance of practiced choreography, taking you on a journey of sensory indulgence that echoes the water's rhythmic pulse. Historians often ponder whether such leisurely pursuits appeased the aristocracy's spiritual or physical needs more. Perhaps, in truth, they bridged the two. Leisure in the Ottoman Empire wasn't merely about idleness, but an intentional cultivation of cultural refinement and personal restoration. As the languid afternoon stretches toward dusk, the estate's gardens reveal yet more splendours. Hushed gatherings beneath vine-latticed arbours, picnics lit only by the pastel hues of sunset light, where conversations whisper softly in the summer breeze, as laughter wafts gently, mingling with the sound of families at ease. With night approaching, you feel the soft pull of rest and reflection. The earnest pursuit of leisure recedes like a quiet symphony, fading into gentle quietude. You marvel at the beauty and complexity of Ottoman leisure pursuits, the harmony of spirit, society, and culture echoing softly across the boundaries of time, touching upon the universality of humanity's search for balance. As darkness deepens, silence envelops the domain, softly absorbing the day's rhythms. The slow dance of petals falling from nearby orange blossoms adds a lingering note, completing both the circumference of a day and a gentle call into the night. And as you drift to the borderlands of sleep, let the rhythmic dance of Ottoman leisure linger, offering a gentle reminder of life's melodic balance. A peaceful wholeness born of the mingling of rest, reflection, and the joyous simplicity of shared time. Within these whispers of serenity, your journey through history finds its quiet end, as dreams carry you softly into tomorrow. Having savoured the gentle rhythms of leisure enjoyed by the Ottoman aristocracy, Your journey now leads you to the domain of learning and scholarship, where the pursuit of knowledge and education plays a pivotal role in the fabric of the empire. This is a world not solely for elite thinkers behind ivory walls, but a dynamic sphere of intellectual curiosity that permeates many corners of society. Picture yourself in one of the grand madrasas, the esteemed centers of learning scattered throughout the empire. These institutions, with their graceful arches and echoing halls, are the soul of intellectual debate and advancement. Within these walls, students from diverse backgrounds gather, eager to immerse themselves in a curriculum that bridges the natural sciences, literature, theology, and the arts. The madrasa stands as a sanctuary of thought, where the empire's intellectual vigor is cultivated and celebrated. The pursuit of knowledge in the Ottoman Empire is characterized by a respect for the wisdom of past civilizations. Ottoman scholars are heirs to the works of ancient Greek, Persian, and Arabic thinkers, and they build upon these towering legacies with both reverence and innovation. As you roam the corridors, you might encounter students discussing Avicenna's medical texts or Euclid's geometric theories. Their focus, however, isn't mere preservation, but evolution, paving the way for new insights and discoveries. Yet education in the Ottoman world isn't confined to formal institutions. Historians continue to debate whether the proliferation of madrasas and libraries reflects a strategic attempt at unity or the organic growth of a society deeply invested in knowledge. Regardless, it's clear that learning permeates all levels, from village marketplaces, where storytelling and oral traditions inform and entertain, to grand libraries in palatial cities that house countless manuscripts, preserving the rich intellectual heritage. You come across a dedicated scholar, pen poised above parchment, carefully transcribing the wisdom of the ages into beautiful calligraphy. This art form, a hallmark of Ottoman scholarship, exemplifies the blend of knowledge and aesthetics, a practice requiring both intellectual rigor and artistic dexterity. Through calligraphy, words transcend mere communication to become vessels of visual beauty. Yet, within this intellectual landscape, you also witness the playful quirks and curiosities that complement the seriousness of scholarship. Students engage in lively debates in open courtyards, their discussions punctuated by laughter when playful what-ifs evolve from scenarios concocted for rhetoric's sake, a nod to the universality of youthful exuberance across time. Although formal education reigns supreme, the exchange of knowledge through coffeehouse discussions and poets' verses plays a subtle complementary role. These arenas, far removed from structured learning, nurture the diffusion of ideas that challenge, inspire, and provoke. By doing so, they contribute to a society where learning brews not just within ink-filled classrooms, but amid clinking cups and eager exchanges. However, for all its openness, the Ottoman educational realm experienced moments of tension between tradition and inquiry. Scholars faced challenges negotiating these limits, where the desire to explore could conflict with the weight of conservatism. The printing press, for example, arrived late to the empire, a delay rooted as much in cautious guardianship of tradition as in fears of losing intellectual power. Despite any constraints, there's unyielding dedication here to seek enlightenment, truth, and artistic mastery. The interplay between past and present forms an ongoing dialogue that maintains its relevance in shaping contemporary perspectives. As you leave the enclave of academic pursuit, the golden evening light brushes against the walls and courtyards, illuminating the sanctuaries of learning with a gentle glow. They stand firm in their devotion to fostering brilliance in human intellect, a luminous beacon reaching across time. With the spectre of dusk upon you and footsteps leading away from discussions and discoveries, the enduring enthusiasm for continued learning lingers in your thoughts. This immersion in Ottoman scholarship reminds you that each cherished page, each recited verse, embodies more than knowledge. They are fragments of a timeless quest for understanding, telling a story as old as humanity itself, a pursuit that pulses with the ever-renewing dawn of discovery and reflection. Secure in this universal truth, you turn to greet the shadows, aware that the pursuit of understanding is not a path with an endpoint, but a journey of infinite horizons, where winds of curiosity encourage each stride forward across the landscape of time. Having explored the intellectual landscapes of the Ottoman Empire, your journey next brings you to the diplomatic crossroads where East meets West. In the realm of international relations, the Ottoman Empire played a crucial role as a bridge between Europe and Asia, deftly navigating the intricate dance of geopolitics and cultural exchange throughout its existence. As you imagine stepping into the grandeur of an Ottoman diplomatic meeting, you are greeted by a room teeming with emissaries from distant lands, their colourful garb and linguistic diversity reflecting a world far more interconnected than it might initially seem. These encounters are milestones of diplomacy, witnessing the exchange of ideas, innovations, and treaties that have the power to shape destinies and redraw borders. The Ottomans were master diplomats, strategically engaging with European powers while asserting their dominance in the East. They maintained a delicate balance of power, forging alliances and rivalries where beneficial. Whether negotiating trading rights with the Venetians or establishing peace treaties with the Habsburgs, Ottoman diplomacy required shrewd negotiation skills and an acute understanding of shifting alliances and priorities. Historians continue to debate whether the Ottomans were ultimately more interested in direct conquest or the subtler domain of influence secured through diplomacy. Regardless, the diplomacy arm of the empire proved potent, wielding ink and eloquence as effectively as any army might wield sword and shield. In these meetings, you might witness pages bearing gifts and tributes. A tapestry from Persia, Flemish silks, or delicate Chinese porcelains, each symbolizing more than wealth. They are tokens of goodwill and implicit assertions of status. These gifts play a crucial part in diplomatic rituals, where every nuance is calculated and every courtesy recorded, in a theatre of power dressed in exquisite formality. Beyond these grandeur-laden ceremonies, there is a lighter side to the empire's diplomatic relations filled with intrigue and, at times, comedy. Our modern world may never yield scandals quite like those sustained on clandestine whispers and coded letters, yet the Ottomans forged ahead with formidable aplomb, even if occasionally their diplomacy extended to culinary contests and jesting misapprehensions over misunderstood courtesies. Much of this diplomacy's charm lies in the mutual respect and fascination between diverse peoples. Ottoman envoys often brought back tales of exotic lands, legends of England's misty isles, the sprawling Habsburg courts or distant realms such as Abyssinia story, adding another brushstroke to the empire's expansive canvas. Despite the inherent complexity of such international relations, the Ottomans embraced cultural exchange, allowing architectural ideas, scientific knowledge, and artistic traditions to transcend borders. These exchanges birthed hybrid styles, evident in buildings, paintings, and new gastronomy, exemplifying how diplomacy not only protected empires, but enriched them. With an awareness that power always comes with vulnerability, the Ottomans skillfully engaged with the emerging concept of balance of power in Europe, not always resisting change but often adapting and adopting Western technology and concepts to fortify defences. An ongoing dialogue between assimilation and preservation. In the midst of these relationships, tongues might occasionally falter over semantics and customs, yet you find a curious warm undercurrent, a dry nod of humour, likening diplomatic adventures those of having an entire kingdom placed cautiously upon a balancing scale. As evening settles across the diplomatic chambers, gently cooling the heated exchanges of the day, a more intimate scene unfolds. Delegates share coffee at lavish banquets, toasting both shared successes and respectfully acknowledged disagreements. Here, the subtle essence of words merges with kindred spirits' aspirations, guiding empires in directions yet unknown. As you prepare to leave, the sights and sounds of these diplomatic encounters linger in your mind, the grandeur, the ambition, and the subtler stories that unfold amid diplomacy's dance. They remind you that beyond the trappings of power and the rigidity of protocol lies a simple truth. Diplomacy serves the timeless human impulse to connect, understand, and forge a common path through the complexities of our world. The legacy of Ottoman diplomacy continues to reverberate today, whispering tales of persistence and daring across oceans and centuries. The lullabies of ancient treaties laze upon the air, reminding you that in the unending flux of history, true influence doesn't only reside in conquering lands, but in navigating the shifting tides with tact, wisdom, and mutual respect. As you step away, these philosophical meditations drift around you, touching in their clarity, always suggesting more with the hushed promise of what lay beyond. As you step away from the intricate dance of Ottoman diplomacy, your journey now leads you to the rustic simplicity and unyielding tenacity of the peasant class. This is a world far removed from the grandeur of courtly life, a realm defined by the cycles of nature, the sweat of labor, and the undying rhythm of the land. Picture yourself in the heart of the Anatolian countryside, where the landscape is dominated by rolling hills and sprawling fields. Here, in the shade of a sun-drenched olive grove, you encounter the beating heart of the empire's agricultural workforce. The peasant classmen, women and children are the sinews and strength of the Ottoman's economic foundation, laboring tirelessly to feed the empire's vast populace. Every day is etched with routines that echo through history: the planting of seeds, the tending of crops, and the harvesting of bountiful yields. These men and women rise with the sun and toil until dusk, their lives dictated by the seasons and the earth's bounty, marking time not by clocks but by the ebbs and flows of celestial cycles. Yet, for all its predictability, life for Ottoman peasants remains a delicate balance between survival and hardship. One cannot ignore the tenacity required to endure such a life, where the spectres of drought, disease, and taxation hover like distant storm clouds. The empire's thriving cities and opulent courts rest upon the backs of these labourers, whose contributions are vital, yet often remain unheralded, hidden from the grand narratives of history. Historians debate whether the Ottoman governance provided adequate support for the rural peasantry, or strained them under the weight of systemic taxation burdens that demanded both labour and a keen resilience from those who had little to spare. Despite the hardship, these communities often displayed remarkable self-sufficiency, crafting a life enriched by wisdom passed down through generations. Communal life pervades here, too. Villagers lean upon one another for support, wisdom, and fellowship. Tasks like bread baking, weaving, and the maintenance of irrigation ditches become moments of shared joy and storytelling, infusing everyday labour with a sense of kinship. In quieter times, the elders gather to impart tales of old, and children play in the fields with a simple joy that transcends time and place. Within this rustic realm thrives an understated artistry, its expressions found in the vibrant hues of textiles, the carved patterns on wooden tools, and the melodies of folk songs echoing across valleys. Each piece reflects a merging of function and beauty that embodies resilience and tradition. The delicate embroidery, often infused with symbols of luck or fertility, tells stories of the emotions and experiences that colour daily existence. The peasant's connection to the land manifests in curious traditions, such as the practice of rain-calling rituals, invoking the elements to bring life-giving water to parched fields. These enchanting rites, filled with dance and song, reveal a faith intertwined with the elemental forces that guide their lives. Despite modern skepticism, such customs endure, whispering of a time when nature and belief danced hand in hand. Amid the charm of tradition lies the harsh reality of labour ploughs, driven by human and animal strength, and the relentless march of time, marked by the slow procession of seasons. Modern sensibilities might balk at the sheer physical intensity demanded, but for the Ottoman peasants, life is less a burden than a testament to human endurance and community solidarity. As you wander further into the life of the peasantry, you're reminded of the delicate balance between survival and hope, a balance maintained by the enduring spirit of those who cultivate life itself. In the permanence of their toil lies a poignant reminder that the truest measure of an empire's strength often resides not in its grand cities or military might, but in the hearts and hands of those who gather its harvests, enduring quietly amid the sunlit fields. As twilight descends over the village, the collective fume of exertion dwindles, giving way to laughter and camaraderie shared around modest tables. The simple, life-affirming taste of freshly baked bread and the warmth of shared company underscore a legacy of continuity and resilience. A narrative spun from threads of simplicity and grandeur, woven into the unyielding fabric of time. As you depart from this picturesque scene, you carry with you the quiet dignity and indomitable spirit of the Ottoman peasants, ever conscious that, despite the humbleness of their circumstances, their stories hold the true essence of an empire, one defined not only by majestic buildings and engaged rulers, but by the unspoken strength of its people, nurturing generations yet to come. As you step away from the industrious resilience of the Ottoman peasantry, your journey now confronts the larger canvas of history: the decline and eventual fall of the Ottoman Empire. This is a tale of grandeur and decay, of triumph tempered by struggle. An epic narrative where, much like the rise of empires before it, the Ottoman story comes full circle. Imagine standing on the high walls of Istanbul, once the heart of a thriving empire that stretched across 3 continents. Below you, the Bosporus Strait continues to bustle with ships, but the winds of change sweep through the city, rustling the pages of history. The Ottoman Empire, once a beacon of power and cultural renaissance, now finds itself grappling with internal strife, external pressures, and the sweep of an industrialized world, reshaping the global landscape. The decline is not an event, but a complex process, a slow unveiling of layers of economic, political, and social challenges. The empire's vast size, once a symbol of its might, becomes a liability, straining the administration stretched across diverse cultures and languages. The very complexity that once demonstrated its superiority now reveals fault lines that are difficult to bridge. Historians often debate the various causes that contributed to the empire's decline. Was it the rigid adherence to outdated practices, or the inability to modernize quickly enough in the face of rising European powers? The loss of territories and defeats in key battles steadily diminished its stature, while new trade routes bypassed its once vital ports, depriving the empire of crucial economic resources. In the corridors of power, political intrigue and graft erode trust, as a succession of sultans struggles to hold together a fracturing world. The Janissaries, once an elite and loyal military force, now render more concern as a barrier to reform and adaptation. Ensconced in their privileges, they resist change, even as it becomes clear that the old ways no longer align with the new realities facing the empire. Internationally, the empire is labelled the sick man of Europe, a term that reflects both its weakened condition and the looming question of its future. European powers eye the empire warily, some even hungrily, contemplating how its eventual collapse might alter the balance of power. Yet amid the spiral of challenges, there are pockets of hope and attempts at revitalization. Reform efforts, known as the Tanzimat, seek to modernize the army, improve infrastructure, and introduce new legal frameworks. These efforts, while earnest, often clash with the entrenched interests accustomed to the status quo, revealing the empire's struggle to reconcile the old with the new. The cultural richness of the empire offers a silver lining. Libraries brim with knowledge, poets still enchant with their verse, and artisans craft beauty against the backdrop of uncertainty. Throughout the turmoil, the streets of Istanbul remain vibrant, testament to a resilient spirit that refuses to capitulate quietly. In a strange juxtaposition, a quirky contrast emerges within the empire's decline. Such cultural flourishing amid political entropy reveals a poignant paradox. A society capable of producing sublime art and literature, even as its structural foundations fall behind the advancing world. Even as you witness this era of decline, there's a lingering sense that the Ottoman legacy will persist, colouring the tapestry of affected regions long after the empire dissolves. Its influence, spanning centuries, continues to echo in modern borders, customs, and shared histories that remind us of a connection that transcends the pages of textbooks. As dusk settles over the once mighty empire, the contours of its story fade into the night, a story etched in stone and narrative alike, whispered by the winds across ancient battlements and solemn minarets. Yet the stories of innovation, endurance, and culture remain vibrant, undiminished by time. Reflecting on this grand epic, it's clear that the fall of the Ottoman Empire is more than a narrative of decline. It is a testament to the cyclical nature of history, where each ending signifies not a loss, but the seed of renewal, carrying forth the enduring legacy of human endeavour, resilience, and continuity. As you depart from this chapter, your heart weighs with the magnitude of the empire's history. Yet it alights with the realization that within every ending resides the quiet promise of a beginning, a subtle suggestion of whispered stories and evolving truths yet to emerge, where the remnants of past glories continue to shape the reflections of tomorrow. As you take in the echoes of the Ottoman Empire's rise and fall, your journey culminates in the present day, a world shaped in countless ways by the empire's enduring legacy. Across continents and generations, the cultural, architectural, and societal threads of the past continue to weave through the fabric of modern life, reminding us of the Ottoman touch in our everyday experiences. Imagine walking through a bustling marketplace, the colourful stalls brimming with spices and textiles that once travelled along the same silk and spice routes pioneered by Ottoman merchants. The sounds of haggling blend with the aroma of fragrant foods, cultural exchanges as rich and vibrant today as they were centuries ago. The bazaar itself is a testament to the enduring influence of Ottoman commerce, a microcosm of the global trade networks that helped shape the modern economy. Architecture also offers a poignant reminder of the empire's lasting impact. Across cities like Istanbul, Cairo, and Sarajevo, distinctive domes and minarets stand proud against the skyline, their careful artistry a tribute to a civilization that celebrated form and function in equal measure. These structures, with their mosaics and calligraphy, whisper stories of a time when architects and artisans pushed the boundaries of innovation. Even in the world of fashion, Ottoman influences persist, styles and patterns from sultans' courts occasionally resurfacing on catwalks and in fashion magazines, echoing a cultural exchange that transcends temporal and geographical boundaries. The empire's fusion of Middle Eastern and European influences continues to inspire creativity and reinvention. Perhaps the most profound legacy, though, lies within the cultural and intellectual realms. The Ottomans' commitment to artistic and scholarly pursuits lives on through modern writers, poets, and academics, who draw upon a rich tradition of literature and philosophy, perpetuating a legacy of curiosity and contemplation. The coffeehouse culture, too, remains vibrant. Cafes buzzing with discussions, ideas brewing as perennially as the coffee that fuels them. Historians and modern scholars alike continue to explore the multifaceted legacy of the Ottoman Empire, pondering whether its greatest gift was its tangible contributions, architecture, art, trade, or the more ephemeral exchange of ideas and multiculturalism. Whichever the case, the story of the empire serves as a reminder of the extraordinary impact of cross-cultural encounters. And yet, even in the midst of recognition of these legacies, it's the unexpected and quirkier interconnections that surprise us. Consider the simple delight of a game of chess, played in parks worldwide, a modern reflection of the strategic minds fostered within Ottoman walls, or the humble appreciation of Turkish delight on a holiday table, an echo of Ottoman gastronomic ingenuity. As dusk settles and your journey through history draws to a close, the significance of the Ottoman legacy becomes clear. It is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing influence that has transcended its historical context to enrich our global identity. Its cultural threads are subtly woven through the everyday, connecting us to a shared heritage that continues to nurture and inspire. Reflecting upon the tapestry of time and influence, you understand that this journey through the Ottoman Empire is only one chapter within the broader narrative of human continuity, a story of enduring legacies and the transformative power of cultural exchanges spanning continents and eras. The whisper of Ottoman history lingers quietly in the evening air, a symphony of its diverse narratives now softly playing into the sanctuaries of modernity. As you return to your own world, these echoes invite you to ponder your place in this continuum, urging you to embrace the shared human experience in all its richness and complexity. Now, as you prepare to wind down for the night, let these stories settle gently into your thoughts, buoyed by their enduring resonance and timeless wisdom. Whether in the quiet solitude of a dimly lit room or the gentle murmur of city life outside your window, the spirit of the Ottoman Empire dwells close, offering a comforting proximity through the ages. Greater than, greater than, greater than, greater than, end of script. Sweet dreams,